Welcome from Labor to Refreshment. I'm your host, Raymond Newby,
And I'm Arlen Elkin.
and we're glad to have you here today.
Yeah, how are you today, Raymond?
I'm doing good. Trying to stay cool.
I tell you, it's definitely been hot.
It has, yeah. I think coming in at 11, it was 90 already.
Speaking of hot, we've got a hot Masonic topic here today.
Oh, yeah. Retention. I think everybody wants to know the answers here, which I don't think we're going to have them.
Well, we've all got ideas, and some ideas have to be tried, and I guess some are proven to be true. But yeah, we were kind of discussing things a little bit before the podcast got started here about, getting people involved in the lodge and keeping them involved, and it's all positive because things are going good. We've got a lot of new candidates and things are going, but you always think about the future and what we need to do to be proactive to keep people involved.
I know a lot of topic comes up about how do we get brothers back in? The brothers haven't been here in a while. I've said it many times, and a lot of people may disagree, but I believe our focus should be on the brothers that are in lodge now and the new brothers coming in. How do we keep them engaged? And and then whatever else we can do to bring other people in. But if you have a strong lodge, it's going to be more likely people to come back. I come in a lodge and there's only 5 people here or 10 people. Unless what do I want to go down there for?
Yeah, I agree with you. And as we focus on the new people coming in and keeping people involved in things like community events and things that we do, and as people see us out in the public and people see us having a good time, people see us associated with our pendant bodies that we belong to, having fun, I think that certain people are hungry for that. And that is what we need to do to bring people back, ones that aren't coming, family events, things that we can do with the wives and children and being involved in our community.
I think family's like a huge thing too. The more stuff we can do outside, I said picnics, going on, anything. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything major event, but anything we can do that involves our family, then it's more likely to have people want to be a part of it. If we go and all our wives or our girlfriends or whoever sees us, we're coming into the lodge once a week, then they don't know anything, and it's less likely they're going to want to be involved. But if we are out doing events, then you'll get that support from the family. And not only that, if you got young children coming up, they're going to see it too, and they want to be involved.
Excitement. I know back when I joined the lodge, my family members, my uncles and things that were members here, you couldn't find out anything from them, and that's what drew me to it was just the curiosity. And I think with the internet and everything anymore, that we don't have the curiosity that we once had. So we need these other events like you're talking about, things that's going to draw people into the lodge. And as they see people enjoying themselves and family involvement, just it's like a beehive, everybody working together.
It also helps stifle all the naysayers.
Exactly.
People saying, "Oh, they're doing evil stuff there," and then they see, "No, we're not."
Our lodge here's in a smaller village, a suburb of Huntington, West Virginia, actually, although we're in I would like to see, just like us with the lodge here, we bought some lots, some property right here around our lodge. So we've got a little bit bigger footprint than what we had originally when I joined the lodge in 1981. I would like to see, more community events like we've talked about for years, having maybe a little community movie night, give away some popcorn in the summertime, everybody bring a lawn chair. We have room available. There's a lot of things that we can do to get the community involved. It's just not about us, it's about everybody in our community.
I think we do trunk or treat every year. The Eastern Star does, and so that's always good.
Yeah, and I know they have food and stuff available, and a lot of the community kids come in, and not only they get a bag of candy, but they go away with their belly full of food, chips and everything too.
And that down in Aid, which is a little community not too far from us, it's a small community, but there's a store there. Halloween time, all the streets are packed, and it's one of the things that the store does. With the man who owns the store, he's a Mason. He has a Giovanni's Pizza there, and he hands out a slice of pizza to everybody who comes through. And then You go over to another place, they're giving out hot dogs.
Exactly. Yeah. I know all about aid. I've been out there quite a bit.
Think otherwise you miss it.
It's nice, nice little Sims Valley community. There, and we've got several brothers of our lodge here that live in that area, in Sims Valley area. Yeah, it's very good school system out there, and everything's a good place to live.
So getting back to retention, you know, the more we're in the community, I think, the more people are going to see us, and then that's going to draw people in. At least I think. I mean, it's just all what I think. But once they get in, you've got to keep people in the lodge. You can't, you know, you got to keep them engaged. You got to make it more than just sitting there for 2 hours listening to somebody talk business. So that's, I think, a lot of lodges. What we need to focus on is, you know, we need something to fulfill us.
The fellowship,
right?
The fellowship, you know, and I think we do very well here. It's just like we've got a communication committee, and you know, we're constantly trying to find better ways to communicate with our brothers, you know, and we have brothers that live all over the country here, you know, almost 250, 260 members, and several, as they've retired, have moved to Florida and different places. So but we still, you know, try to stay in contact with all those brothers and things. And I think all that makes a difference.
I know the communication committee, it's continuous trying to find solutions on how you do communicate, because communication has changed over the years. You know, whenever we were young, communication involved picking up a telephone. Now people don't talk on phones. You know, people are relying on text. There for a while it was emails, but now I don't think a lot of people rely on it. You know, for myself, I get so much junk email that unless it's a work email, I don't pay attention to it. So
I find myself unsubscribing from a lot of the emails,
right?
You know, because I get so many, and you want to try to focus on the ones that you think are most important.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, like you said, the text messaging and things, and which that's bring that up. We've switched to the system in Grandview communications.
Trying to test it out. I know whenever I first came on the communication committee, the reason why I joined was we were going to have a degree. I think a degree. We're doing something at the lodge. I can't remember what it was, but so I show up and I'm the only person here, and I'm like, where is everybody? So I called up a brother and said, are we doing something? And he's like, no, they got canceled. And he was down at the beach at the time, and I'm like, what? I didn't know. So that's whenever I realized, like, yeah, we've got to figure out a way to communicate. And I think that's another piece of how you get people in, is a communication, solving that problem there, to let people know, yeah, this is what we're doing. You know, we have our wild boar degree coming up next Saturday, which I know we'll talk about here in a little bit, but how many people know about that? Now, they know we do it every year, but do you know exactly when? Do you know where?
It's been going on for a while, about 40 years.
But the location's changed. So if I came to it 20 years ago, it's not going to be the same location now. So communication, I think, is a huge, huge piece of the puzzle. Yes. How do you know, get people in, keep them in, and then hopefully draw other brothers back in?
Word of mouth is the best form of advertisement. You know, you get somebody recommending you, or people come here and they see that we do good degree work, or we have great meals or whatever.
Word of mouth, though, is people aren't talking. We're all texting.
That's true.
So once again, the communication is changing, where people aren't relying on that.
You know, when I was in business, I read a study once that said if you have a customer that complains, whether you think that complaint is legitimate or not, you need to listen to that complaint, because 10 other people feel the same way and don't say anything about it.
Right.
So, you know, I think it's important to listen to everybody's views and take everything into consideration when we're discussing communications or whatever the case may be in the lodge.
And the complaints, you know, in business as well. You know, one complaint does more damage, because you can have 10 good customers, but that one person that complains, the one's going to be posting it, or the one's going to be sharing it and everything.
Yeah, we've got, you know, just like as far as communications, you know, we do that, our newsletters and things. I know Brother Daniel is working on the yearbook for
Right.
the end of the year, which I'm looking forward to seeing, and kind of encapsulate everything into a nice magazine format or newsletter type thing. And that'll go out to all the brothers, and copies will be available here for visitors to come in and pick up and look at and see, things that how we've enjoyed being members of the lodge throughout the year.
We also do a mid-year, which I think is important because we don't want to just communicate out once a year. We need to make sure, because unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of brothers who are not able to make it. Yet, I think that they're a valuable part that need to be informed of what's
Yeah.
going on.
Even our lodge here, we went for several years, and the only communication people would get from the lodge was the dues notice, and I know the Grand Lodge is kind of taking over that role now, and a lot of that's going out by email and things anymore.
Yes, another thing about communication, because now we don't use mail either.
Exactly.
We don't even send letters out or
It's the stamps, and
right.
everything's changing, and
Yeah.
and I know I get my neighbor's mail in my box almost as often as I get my own. It's okay if they put my bills in their box.
Nobody ever wants to pay your bills.
If you don't get them, are they really due?
They'll come set it off. The set off notices always do.
That's for sure. But I think our lodge is doing great things when it comes to communicating with the members. There's no reason anybody could say I didn't know about anything anymore, here at our lodge.
I think there's still, we're trying to make sure we have everybody's information up to date, because that's another challenge you run into is, I haven't been to the lodge in a year. I moved to wherever. I don't update my information in Grandview, and then we send out the newsletter, and it doesn't actually make it to that person.
That's, like you say, that's the most important thing. I mean, if you move or if you change addresses, or just like in our case where the 911 says we're changed force,
Yeah.
and if you don't update those things, then see the proper communications. But
Maybe let them know what Grandview is.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we're trying to do here. As you mentioned, we're using Grandview now to send out, our text announcements to make sure everybody are aware of it. And Grandview is the app, I guess would be the proper terms, that is for all of the lodges. And it's not just Ohio. I know Grandview's in other states. I know a lot of the other Grand Lodges are using it as well. We'll say it's very important, especially for brothers here in our lodge, to make sure their information is up to date.
That's the thing. What a person needs to do is you can start off by Googling the Grand Lodge of Ohio. And then there's a section there that, you can do the drop down box, and it'll say members portal. And if you have your membership number, or you can get a hold of your secretary or the master card to find your membership number, and then you create your account on Grandview. It's a very simple process, and then you even go in there and you can choose how you want to be notified. Me, I checked every box. I get the email, text, and everything, but snail mail, whatever.
Thing is, it's not going to cost you anything. It's
Yeah.
part of your dues that you pay. It's all free. You just go in, sign up.
There's a lot of other resources that are available too for the members. There's actual resources tab that tells you about different things. There's calendars that tells you events that are going on all over the state of Ohio as different lodges update their events, special events and things. There are just a tremendous amount of resources there that you can read. And you can see your roster, the list of members in your lodge. Some people choose to have their phone numbers and addresses there if you want to send someone a card, or if you haven't talked to a brother for quite a while. A lot of times there are phone numbers on there.
And I think
and it's private.
Yeah,
So
I was going to say, I think there's a checkbox in there you can set it to private. So if you don't want it out there for everybody, so which I don't care. I mean, it's only other brothers who see it. It's
Exactly.
The public can't see. You have to have a login. You have to be a member of a Grand Lodge, or all under it. So it's only other brothers who's able to see it. But there is and that's how I found out about the Royal Schofield, was through that. There's, like you said, all kinds of education stuff, things to read, study on.
You can go back and look at the the flip charts for the
Right.
entered apprentice degree
Yeah.
and the fellowcraft degree and the master mason degree,
Right.
and you can see Grand Lodge proceedings and stuff on
Mhm.
there. As you if you're an officer in the lodge, more things are available to you. You know, if you're on the audit committee, you know, that's where the information on there that you have to go in and fill out for our inspections and stuff every
Right.
year. And but there's just a wealth of information there that everyone, and I really encourage people if they haven't ever looked at their Grandview, that they go in and first of all, you know, create their Grandview account at the Ohio Grand Lodge website, the members portal, and just take a look at things, what's available for you. Things are changing for the better, I think, in that respect.
It's important though to keep your information up to date. And I think you change it in Grandview, like say if I need to update my phone number, or is that something?
You can do your individual one. I know we've got sheets here that says update your information, you know, by our sign-in sheet when you come in the lodge and things. And if someone don't want to get on there and do it, or they're not computer, a lot of the younger brothers are, you know, you can fill out a paper form and give it to the secretary and they can update that, or the assistant secretary and things. But we're all about trying to get people's information, especially if you're a member of Proctorville Lodge. We would love for you to go on there and update your information. And that way you won't miss out. I know now we don't really have a and things.
Right.
So, you know, a lot of times I ran into a guy today at the gas station that was telling me that he said, I didn't know brother so-and-so died or passed away. And said that I didn't find out till a week later. And I went to his widow and apologized for not being there. He said, but I don't get the newspaper anymore, you know, and things. So, but if a brother, you know, someone passes away and they request a Masonic service, and, you know, our lodge puts out a notice and it'll be going out on that Grandview system for our lodge members to see.
Our lodge, who's listening, what you'll receive a text. It'll say Proctorville Lodge, and then I believe it sends you a link. And then you just click on that link and it takes you straight to Grandview, and then it'll give you an explanation of what's going on and everything else. It's pretty simple. Like I said, it's just a text message comes in, you click the link, and it'll automatically direct you out to the Grand Lodge. Yeah.
And that way, you know, everybody that wants to be informed can be informed.
Mhm.
And you don't have to miss out on anything anymore. And I think there's some excitement in the lodge about it, you know, as people know, and I mean, knowledge is power, you know, they say. So the more you know about what's going on, I know you drive by and there's cars here, you know, you think, hey, what's going on there at the lodge this evening? Well, it's your own fault if you don't know.
Yeah, so we're using a newsletter now to try to keep people informed. Of course, that goes out twice a year, mid-year one, and then the end of year one, which is a summary of the whole year. And then, of course, our Grandview, sending out the text message, or I think Grandview also sends out emails. If you prefer to receive an email, I think you can do the email instead. What else can we?
Well, we have actually, I think we have 3 Facebook pages. So we have one that's called Proctorville Masonic Scuttlebutt, which is kind of a members only. I think there's other people on there that aren't members but have been regular attenders of our lodge. You know, not that we put anything in there, private things or anything, but stuff that's more just focused about, you know, what's maybe specifics of something instead of just a general announcement. But we've got the website, a great website that Brother Daniel keeps up to date. Our calendar's on there. It's updated after every stated meeting. So everything that's going on for the month at the lodge is on the website. He's very proactive about keeping all that information up to date. There's a lot of resources on our website as well. If you haven't been there in a while, you need to check it out. It's a great resource for information, you know, current events and things that are going on. I think there's archives of our newsletters on there. Maybe if you didn't get a copy, or there's even our mailing addresses on there, and email addresses to contact Brother Daniel that administers our website, and maybe even secretaries and things like that's email information in case you need to get a hold of them. But yeah, we're very proactive when it comes to communicating anymore.
We're trying to always find other ways and new ways to communicate, even, through the podcast, even though it's, we don't associate it with the lodge, but we try to, always make sure people know what's going on. So how do we keep brothers that are in lodge from getting bored and leaving?
Well, we've had a lot of things going on around here. There have been some remodeling projects.
Yeah.
Some guys like to do that kind of stuff and always want to stay busy working, with their hands and things. We've got a lot of brothers.
Fun stuff do we have?
Well, it's like the pool tournaments and things that we've had in the past. We haven't really been able to do that because of the remodeling of the secretary's office, but we're getting back to there.
Yeah.
We've got the festivals coming up, this fall, and they'll be here before we know it.
Oh.
We'll be out selling apple butter and associating with our other brothers in other lodges, like at the Bob Evans Farm Festival.
And that's what one of the things at this lodge that I've enjoyed is the apple butter. And it's mostly whenever you're making it, we're just out there sitting around having fun, sometimes a cool fall day, and then going to the actual festivals, But outside of that, once that ends, and it's like waiting for football season. Man, how much longer till football starts?
Well, that's another thing now. We've got the internet and streaming services here at the lodge and stuff. We can kind of gather in here and watch some football and different things and things that we haven't been able to do in the past. And there's always a pot of coffee on and something left over to eat in the refrigerator. We have some excellent meals every time we have a pizza, from some of the chain pizza stores. I know a lot of lodges you go to, you seem to get pizzas, from
I remember once there was making apple butter and bought pizza and brought it back. It's easier that way.
Yeah, that's good then. I mean, just for lunch or something to eat, pretty quick.
I'll tell you what I'd like to see is, outside of apple butter, through the springtime, summertime, is little clubs, something that we could all, like we mentioned at the very beginning, something where we all get together. We go to a baseball game, we go get down to the Charleston Dirty Birds pretty cheap and pretty easy for the guys who want baseball or get together. So yeah, the more stuff we can do together, I think the more value somebody can get.
There's a few stock car dirt tracks around here within an hour's drive. We've got the Ona Speedway, which is a blacktop track just a few miles from us here. Yeah. We need to utilize more things like that, setting up events where we're going as a group. I know we've done charter fishing. We went up to Lake Erie and not necessarily as a lodge, but just groups of men outside the lodge.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is just something to do.
Yeah. We used to go to a place in Huntington called Bear Arms where they would meet up once a month, and there was a restaurant there and a shooting range, and be able to shoot at the range if you wanted to and just enjoy lunch with your brothers and stuff. And I know Brother Kenny and them, they still have their, they call it brown bag brothers. Into the lodge here, stop at Wendy's or wherever and bring in they'll agree to meet up at a restaurant somewhere and go out and eat and have fellowship. And a lot of times we have brothers that bring their neighbors and stuff, and everybody's welcome. Just want to have a good time. So
yeah, unfortunately with those, I think a lot of times they do at lunchtime. They do kind of,
the retired fellas,
right,
it's more for that group.
Yeah.
You'll get there one of these days.
Yeah.
I've been to a few of them.
Sooner than later, but it's probably going to be later.
Want to wish your life away. Like the working years, it's a very good part of your life.
Yeah.
It kind of defines you, good or bad.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah. But yeah, the more stuff we can do as a lodge together outside the lodge, I think brings more value to somebody who's being a member of it.
We have brothers that fish and hunt. We have brothers that play music, and we have ride motorcycles and just a whole host of things. And that's what I've said for a while. If you're going to go out and you've got a group of guys and 2 or 3 of you are belong to the lodge here anyway, why not just say, hey, we're going to go on a motorcycle ride this weekend, Sunday afternoon. Sets it up. Just say, hey, I just want to remind everybody that we've got an entered apprentice Thursday night. If you're able, come and enjoy the fellowship and stuff and little things like that. I don't think it's one great big thing that's going to get people active and stuff. I think it's a whole lot of little things that need to be done.
Yeah, because we're not lodge isn't just this building. It's the fellowships, the being together outside of it as well.
It's about helping our community, and it's about, building one another up, and taking a good look at ourselves to see where we stand with things, and what we believe in, and uh, how we're perceived out here in society and things. And that's the thing, even like, and you don't see it too much anymore. We've seen it a lot from brothers in our lodge, but just like social media we was talking about a little earlier, we really need to be careful about the things that we put out there on social media and stuff, that is, just like in our frustration, if we're aggravated about something and we go on a rant out there or something, that don't put a good light on Masonry, and people are watching you. People are looking to find fault with people that are in the lodge and stuff like that, and we don't want to give people a reason or an excuse.
You're always going to have bad people within every group. The good thing with us is we try to, once somebody does something in Masonic, they can be expelled. But I always tell people whenever they start finding that one person, well, so and so is a Mason. I remind them, it's like even Judas was a disciple. Every group's going to have a person,
and you can't judge a book by the cover,
right?
You got to get in there and read and find out.
But you're right about how we present ourselves. Especially if we got Masonic stickers on our vehicles, and when you cut that person off, they're going to see that sticker right there.
And that's what they're going to focus on.
Yeah. So, when we're driving, it's important that we
got brothers wear their Masonic hats and stuff. Cut in a line at somewhere or something, or whatever.
So if you're going to be a butthole, don't wear rings.
Yeah.
But so how do we get new members or people in?
Well, I personally think, just like our tradition says that people should come of their own free will and accord. And I think it's okay to tell our friends, our neighbors, our loved ones, hey, you would make a good Mason, or maybe do little things that would pique their interest to get them to think a little bit more about it, and maybe think, well, wonder what it's like to join the lodge, to get them to ask more questions. I personally like the thing, you don't go ask everybody and solicit people to join. It ought to be something people ought to be intrigued to do. They ought to see the example of their friend or neighbor or loved one and say, hey, I'd like my life to be more like theirs. What's different about them?
I always like using the analogy that, I could invent a machine that can turn lead into gold. Not I can, but say if I invented a machine to turn lead into gold, it's worth no value if nobody knows about it. And I think that's a lot of our problem is nobody knows. We're going to turn a good man into a better man because you hear the slogan, but it's like it doesn't. What does that mean? I personally think that we need to be once again out in public. People seeing that they understand it's like, yeah, we're doing stuff. We're doing stuff for the community, but also being in the paper. But, people seeing the good stuff because we can be out there doing great stuff, but we're just an individual. They don't see the lodge. They don't see the Masons doing it. If we were to do stuff as a group, then
what, the 10, 12, 15 brothers that work tirelessly, on the apple butter and stuff. I mean, the money that the lodge gains from that, and the things that we're allowed to do to help the community, but it's all from the laborers.
Several up here at 6 o'clock in the morning, or even before then, to get kettles ready, and they're here until 6, 7, 8 o'clock cleaning up.
And then the things that we do for it, like you say, the scholarships we give out, the different things that we do throughout the year, some of the Little League sponsorships that we do, and things like that. A lot of people don't really know where it comes from, or they don't realize. But without the labors of our brothers and the hard work and the dedication and donations and things that our brothers do, and you won't see us out here soliciting money, or we don't have a boot drive or something for toys for this or that or whatever. I mean, guys reach down and they get it out of their own pockets, and they do. They don't want any glory for it. They do it because it's the right thing to do.
But I just feel like that not for glory, but just to let the public know is, a little article in the paper, which I don't know, nobody reads paper anymore, or even out on social media or wherever it is that people are getting information, let them see that, yeah, this money is coming from this, or, we're supporting that. I'd love to see a park in Proctorville because I don't think Proctorville has a park.
Well, they're actually working on a little park over here now, and I know which the mayor here in town is a brother here, and I know he's been working tirelessly about it. They've actually raised some money, wanting like an all-inclusive park for that are able for handicapped children and things, and special toys for them to play on and things and stuff. And I know I was talking to him at one time, and I think they had a goal of like trying to raise $100,000, and they're well on their way. They actually went up to Fairmont, the village did, West Virginia. I believe it was Fairmont, I'm almost sure it was Fairmont, West Virginia. And they got some playground equipment where another playground had updated theirs, but this was some really nice stuff, and they've installed it. But it's around on, I believe it's on Wilga Street, next to where Angie's Bakery used to be, where the old Fairland School was on that lot there. They've redone some of the basketball courts there and things. But as far as a park, it's just kind of a small little community park. It's not like a park where you're going to have a 1 mile walking track or anything like that.
And that's the things I think there's a lodge we should be out. How can we help? Where can we get them? And not to be involved, not that those are things that we can do to help the communities.
Labor, to help them with putting things together or buying benches or something,
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Something we probably ought to look into. I know there's a lot of stuff going on, getting ready to anyway. I know we've got sure what year it is and what annual year, but I would say it's close to 40, if not more than. Our wild boar degree, which is kind of a fun degree we do here at the lodge.
It'll be here at Parkville Lodge, 550.
It's always the first Saturday in August every year. It used to be an outdoor degree, and a lot of times we would have, or a few times we had Rush Lodge from Rush, Kentucky. They would come and do a Master Mason degree and stuff. We're not doing the Master Mason degree anymore, but we're still doing the Wild Boar degree, which is a fun day of fellowship. It'll start off with some maybe donuts and coffee and stuff. The morning registration's about 9:30, 10 o'clock. We'll start the degree and take brothers through the degree, and it's a very good portrayal of a scenario about the prodigal son. But it's a very good degree. Like I say, we've done it for years.
Once again, registration will start at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. on August the 2nd.
Yeah. And open to all Master Masons.
Yes.
And you don't even have to be from the Grand Lodge of Ohio. You can be West Virginia, Kentucky, anywhere.
We had some brothers come from North Carolina. We've had people from Virginia. I mean, over the years, we've had people from everywhere come. It's a little better, I think, because it's more climate controlled inside.
Yeah.
With the August heat or the rains and stuff, it's some years, but there'll be guys here cooking all night long. The night before, used to roast a pig. Now the pig's in portions, but we still roast it. The guys will bring their smokers in. There'll be plenty of corn on the cob, and we've got a brother that always brings his big cast iron pot and makes a big pot of pinto beans and cornbread. Man, there'll be desserts, and we'll have a little fun auction. We've got some nice stuff to auction off.
Walking sticks that are pretty neat.
Yeah, we've got some things, and a little unique thing we're going to do this year too. And we've got a brother that's actually a licensed auctioneer that's going to come, I believe, and do the auction for us. So that'll be good, but hopefully there'll be some homemade pies and cakes and stuff like that to auction off. All the money will go to a good thing. Yeah. But the cost of the degree, I believe, is just $5, and that's for a lifetime membership to the Wild Boar degree. But we welcome anybody that would want to come and participate. And if you want more information, you can go to our website and check out the details there.
The lodge's website?
Yes, the Proctorville 550. You can Google Proctorville 550, or the website address is
Proctorville Lodge.
Proctorville Lodge
550.org.
550.org. It's PROCTORVILLE LODGE 550.org.
You can always email us here at Labor to Refreshment. Our email is labor, LABOR, the number 2, REFRESH at Gmail.
And you can go to X, Labor to Refreshment,
Labor to Refreshment.
Labor to Refresh on X, and there'll be some posters there that have the details of the event, the address, the time, and the date, and everything there.
And we're not the only one with stuff going on.
Yeah, the Scottish Rite Valley Cincinnati, which Proctorville 550 is the furthest lodge to the east in the valley of Cincinnati's jurisdiction. They have the All Masons Day at the Ohio Renaissance Festival. That's going to be on Saturday, September 6, 2025, and it's sponsored by the Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite Valley Cincinnati. That's always a special event. You can go to 32masons.org and look at the information on that if you're interested in going to that. That's down around the Cincinnati area.
And in Middleport, Port Ohio, they're having their 9th annual outdoor degree. That's Saturday, August the 30th, and they're doing a Master Mason degree. And their address is 9059 State Route 143 in Pomeroy, Ohio. And they said they'll have signs will be posted and to bring a lawn chair. And you can find this once again all on X. I try to keep it updated out there as I, people send us stuff or find stuff, we put it out there. But yeah, like I said, the Middleport Lodge will be doing their outdoor degree, and that's just a little up the river from us here.
If you're on X, look us up and follow us the same way on Spotify and on some of the other platforms wherever you listen to the podcast or different podcasts. If you would, please give us a like, follow our page or our podcast. We would appreciate that.
Let's see what else is happening in the news. Warren Masonic Lodge, number 15, recently made a donation for Fayette County programs of scouting, which that's always good. Once again, I mean, we've talked about it before. Most lodges are out doing good stuff, and as I mentioned earlier, a problem is people don't know. But like I said here, with the Warren Lodge, they're making donations to the scouting. In New Zealand, Northland Special Olympics, they get a $27,000 boost from Freemasons.
Hey, I would take a trip to New Zealand if you'd pay for it.
But there is a lot of, if you go to freemasonry.network, that's where I find a lot of my news articles at. It's a website, and they have all kinds of stuff where Masons are students doing good things in the communities that they're in. Across the pond and here as well.
Yes. That you made me think there a few years ago, we had a brother that lived in New Zealand that was from our area, but lived the majority of his life there in New Zealand. When he passed away, we done his Masonic service here, and it's always an honor to do that. But you mentioned New Zealand made me think of that. But that's something else that we do and we're involved in, and paying our last respects to our fallen brothers. And that kind of leads me to a thing. We had a past Grand Master in Ohio died. That was an honorary member of our lodge here, Michael Himes, 33rd degree, most forceful brother Himes. He'd been to our lodge several times. I can remember when they had Scottish Rite Days in the county here, I've been in several degrees with Brother Mike, and it was always a pleasure. And I'm telling you, he was a special man. He'll never be replaced. No matter where he was or whenever you ran into him or saw him or he always had a kind word, a smile on his face, and always greeted you and was very respectful and gave you all the time busy he was. But like I say, he was an honorary member of our lodge here at Proctorville, and he'd been here several times, and he'll be sadly missed.
I think we've talked to, whenever it comes to retention and engagement, we talk about it, I think, most every meeting, every time we get together, the topic comes up. And, we could probably continue talking about it. And I'm sure other people have their thoughts and opinions. If any of you out there listening like to share them, I'd love to hear. I think all of us, it's not just, I don't think any one person's going to have the answers.
You hear things, a lot of lodges still have their pancake breakfast and just all kind of things going on that benefits their own communities and stuff. But get out there, get involved. If you haven't been to lodge in a while, pick up where you left off. Get right in there and get busy, and your lodge would welcome you back, I'm sure. And get involved, and it's about all of us making this world as good a place as we can.
If you'd like to share your thoughts or opinions, please feel free to reach out to us. You're not going to offend anybody.
And we always want to say, too, that everything that is expressed here on the podcast is the views of the host and not necessarily our lodge or a Grand Lodge or any appendant body, but strictly the views of the host and our opinions and our opinions only. And if you disagree, we wouldn't mind hearing that as well. Let us know. Reach out to us. We want our podcast to grow, and we'd like to again ask you, if you would, to follow it and share it and tell your friends and neighbors about it, and get out there and get involved in the community and be a good neighbor, good friend, good brother, and make this world a better place.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.